Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu, I'm bringing out this video of me reviewing a board game, and today I'm finally doing it. I'm finally doing it. I know it's been so long, but I'm finally doing a review of D-Day at Omaha Beach. I've done a playthrough of it. It was a two-parter, so you can go check out those videos. I've cleared everything here so I wouldn't spoil how that went, good or bad. But for the most part, we're going to go ahead and jump into this one. So let me go ahead and get our background music playing. 1 second. Let's do. Ooh, soccer pedals. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Wait, was I just playing this? Wait a second. 1 second. All right, changing playlist again. Okay, so let's go and jump into this. So D-Day at Omaha Beach is a game that's taking place for the historical events. For those who don't know, is when the United States and the Allied forces in the World War II were storming the beaches of Normandy. So as a result, we got this ginormous map, and I think it's a little bit difficult to fully appreciate this map. Unless we zoom out, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit further, and oh yeah, look, there's Anya. Hey, hello. I'm going to zoom out a little bit further so we can kind of see the map there, and let me get my other camera to zoom out too. Let's see if I can get that positioned without showing. Oh, okay, the other camera shows it way better. You can see the full board in the other camera. So here's my second camera. You can see this is the entire board. It's a little bit warped because of how camera angles and everything works with the wide angle, but for the most part, this is ginormous board. And for context, here's my cell phone with its phone case. I don't know if that helps. I don't have like $1 or something to show. But essentially, we're going to be kind of storming the beaches of Normandy down here, and then we're going to be fighting up there and doing all kinds of stuff. Now, the important thing to know with this game is that I would like to state. Sorry, let me. My camera's in the right spot. I would like to say that this game basically takes place over the course of a few different phases. It's a very procedural game. You can actually see those phases if we go back to our upper section. If we look up here, you can see that you have your different phases. You have your east sector check, the west sector check, and then you have event card, attacks, and all that stuff. And you kind of go through those procedures over and over and over until you finally get to the conclusion of victory or get to the conclusion of defeat for your sides. Now, this game is a pretty massive game. I only played the half game, if you will, and it took me still about 7 hours to play. And I don't want to. Normally in my review videos, I'll do like a full teach, and then I'll kind of talk about my review at the end. But I'm going to go ahead and bring my review to the forefront because I think it's important for those who want to know. Is this game even worth going into? So I'm going to go through a little bit of like a turn or two once I finish talking about my review. But as far as my review goes, starting with the things that I like and then move on to things I didn't like. The things that I like about this game, and again, for those who want to know how this game plays, just check the later sections of the video. For those who just want the review, here's my review. As far as the things that I liked a lot the fact that there's kind of like a lot of decision space, despite the fact that the game kind of pigeonholes you into like a very narrow like window of things that you can do. So what I mean by that is that each side, for the east and the west side, they only have 2 actions. So you only have 2 actions to do, and that might not sound like a lot, especially when you're considering that you're commanding this entire side of troops here over the course of the game. You don't get them all at the same time. They do come out in waves, but essentially you get a different wave pretty much every round that will show up and land on the beach, and you get to move along with whoever else is surviving on the beach as well. And there's a lot of units you can move around, so the question becomes, how do you manage all those units if you need an action to do things like move or shoot or to attack or to do different actions like that? So how do you only have 2 actions for this? And the reason why that works out, and the thing that I like about it, is that there's a lot of free actions, there's a lot of freebies that come in this game. So your normal infantry units, and I'll zoom in a little bit close here. Ooh, that is the wrong camera. Sorry, 1 second. I'll zoom in a little bit close here. So if we look here, we have a few different type of units. These are infantry units, and this is a tank unit. Clearly, it's an armored unit. And then this is a artillery unit. That's the symbol for artillery units. And then this is a ranger unit for the other side. So you have a few different type of units, and essentially every infantry unit, so a regular infantry unit or a ranger unit. Ranger units are special, so I won't talk about them. I'll move them to the side actually. But every infantry unit has what's called a self-preservation move. And a self-preservation move means that essentially as long as this unit is moving towards cover, and cover is considered a climbable cliff, a scalable cliff, which is this little gray section here. There's a key over here on the side of the board that tells you what kind of terrain things are. But a scalable cliff is considered cover, These dashed lines, these dotted lines are called bluffs. Those are considered cover. The shingles, from what I understand, those are considered cover. I need to double check the rules on that because I might have been playing that wrong. Seawalls are considered cover, which this is a seawall. So there's a few different features, few different things on the board that count as cover. And essentially, every single infantry unit effectively gets a free action to run forward. That's essentially what the game wants you to do. It wants you to run forward towards cover. So as long as you're running forward towards cover, then you get a free action. And like I said, every unit gets one action. Well, sorry, you only have 2 actions total per round, but every unit can act once, assuming that you have enough actions to do all the things you want to do. And you essentially have all your infantry units, which is most of your troops. Again, bringing this tree back out here, you can see here that there's a slew of infantry units that you get in the first wave. For the side over here, there's a slew of infantry units you get on the other wave over there. So essentially, you get a lot of infantry units that can kind of run around and just kind of get free actions. That makes it feel good, so it makes it feel manageable. And those 2 actions that you do, those are important actions. Those are some crazy decisions you gotta make. You gotta make decisions of like, do I want to use my tank to try to take a risky attack at one of the towers shooting down on us or raining down fire on us to hopefully disrupt it and make sure that it doesn't act next time? Do you want to just move your tank, because a move for a tank is considered an action as well, to get into a better position? Do you want to try to attack a unit or try to attack a enemy spot with a weakened unit to maybe get lucky and get them to be eliminated? There's a whole bunch of decisions that you have to make for this game, and initially it doesn't seem like a lot of decisions, but once you get your troops much closer, once you start taking hits and taking losses and start seeing where you're stronger at, as in like you might be stronger on this side of the beach versus that side of the beach because these guys took a lot of hits but these guys are a little bit healthier, then you really have to like make the decision of like, okay, do I take a risky shot at this? Do I take a risky shot at this over here to help these guys have a little bit of an easier time that are over here, or do I take the more surefire thing and try to take this out completely? And then like have a really strong presence over here while these guys continue to get whittled down. And it just makes it interesting. I don't know, it's just interesting how the game is able to make that decision space despite the fact that you only have 2 actions every round per side. So the east side has 2 actions. This is the east side. I know I'm pointing to the west, but if you look here, the compass is pointing north towards me, so east is over there. So the east side has 2 actions, and then the west side over here, the west side has 2 actions as well, and then you activate them individually. It's a whole thing, and it's just, to me, really cool how the game does that. So I love that whole mechanic that this game kind of brings out, and I think it's really fascinating how it also executes it. And what I mean by that is about the card system. So these are multi-use cards, and this is probably one of the biggest hurdles for me initially trying to learn the game, which was like, how do these cards work? What am I looking at? Why is there so much text on theirs? What does this mean? What are these letters and symbols? These cards are multi-use cards, and there's effectively 5 different pieces of information that you can get from these cards. The first piece of information you can get is during your landing phase. You get this top bar here, and I'll zoom back in to my zoomed in view. You get this little top bar here. Oh, okay, that's way closer than I thought it was going to be. But you get this little top bar here, which is your landing decisions, and your landing decisions. Let me zoom back out. And your landing results, I should say, not decisions, but your landing results will basically force you to take a look at the landing charts, which is right here. And the landing chart, you'll look at that for the amphibious round. So that's the first thing you do every round, the first part of your round. So let's say I have these units that are trying to land in. If you look here really closely, you'll see that this one has some stuff printed on it. This one says ER3. So if I look for ER3, which is these boxes here for landing boxes, we're going to put ER3 right there. This one says ER2. We're going to put ER2 right there. And actually, I know I said I was going to try to do the review before I do the teach, but I got to teach us a little bit so you can understand what I'm talking about in the review. But essentially, there's different stuff, and when you do the landing stuff, when you do your landing checks, you essentially look at the symbol for triangle, you look at the letter here, and it's going to say triangle A, so we're in round 1. So for, this will happen on turn 2, my bad. So this will happen for turn 2 when they're landing. So this one is going to be triangle A. They're going to drift 4 boxes to the east. So therefore, we're going to drift 4 boxes to the east, and the east is going to be that way. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to land. Like that. So you have that whole thing happening. So again, you have the landing section, and then you have the event section here. The event section is going to tell you some events that are going to happen depending on what round of the game you're in. Then down here you have the German firing section. The German firing section is going to tell you two key things if you're playing the game that I was playing. If you're playing the advanced game, there's more stuff it's telling you, like the full game. There's more stuff it's telling you. But if you're playing the first waves is what I played, which is just the first 16 rounds, but you're playing both sides. You're playing the east and the west side. You only look at this for the color, the number of squares, and the symbol over here. So the color tells you which of these attack points are going to be activating. So if we zoom out to see a little bit more of the board, the color here is currently showing red. So red is going to be attacking, yellow is going to be attacking, and blue is going to be attacking. So all three of these are going to be attacking. And when these do attack, you will look at the number of boxes, and if it has a double box, then a location, a spot that has a death marker on it, that's going to be attacking. And a spot that does not have a death marker or does not have at least one depth marker, they're not going to be attacking. Whereas it shows single, then everybody's available to be attacking. But essentially it just means that that's going to show you what's going to attack, and they're only going to be attacking the symbol here, so the circles. So therefore, you might have some triangles here that are really critical, that are might be eligible to get shot, but if they're in the right spot at the right time, and then this card shows up where these guys are attacking, but they're not targeting them, then they get out scot-free, and that just feels good. So it's just fascinating how that works. And then finally, the last piece of information, last two pieces of information, you can get the artillery shots. When you get to artillery phase, the artillery shots start raining down on you. And then the last thing is that if you are playing the more advanced game, you got these symbols here that'll tell you how the German units are going to be moving around in later parts of the game. And again, these are just a lot of multi-use cards. Like this usage of multi-use cards is really fascinating, interesting to me. So I like that a lot. I was explaining all that just to explain why the multi-use cards are cool, because you got so much information packed in just one card. And it seems very simple and very trivial, but these cards showing up when they do keep the game random. Yes, there are a finite number of cards, but the game does have you shuffle at certain points. And because you're drawing a different card at different times, that does mean that you have different things happening. So for instance, drawing this card during the round phase might suck, but drawing it during the landing phase might be great. Or drawing this card during the landing phase might be awful, but drawing this card during the event phase might be great for you. Oh yeah, this one's pretty great. It says take a naval marker and place a German reinforcement zone. So you get to use a naval shot. Like that would be a great card to have for an event. But having it as a landing box or having it as down here, you never know what you're going to get. And it's an interesting randomizing system. So I really appreciate the randomizer. It does feel like the game just knows how to mess you up. And that's not a con. That's just more of just the game seems alive. And it's really, really interesting how it does that. The last thing I'll talk about that I like about this game is I do like the grand scale of the game. That doesn't mean I'm good at it. You see here, I got me some tweezers so I can use them for pulling up little pieces and moving around. I'm still getting used to it. This is brand new for me, but kind of point to stuff and everything. That's pretty fun. But I do like the grand scale of things. The fact that you have all these units that are storming the beach. You have all these enemies shooting down on you. You got these decisions you gotta make. You got generals out there that are ordering people around. You got headquarters that are giving you free actions. You have future turns to kind of worry about. Doing things like, okay, how do I position my units so that way next turn I can have a bigger turn than this turn. You got things that can happen from the events that can do stuff like reduce the number of actions you have from 2 to 1 or increase it from 2 to 3. And those are great when they show up. You get the boons and the busts that happen during the course of battle. Sometimes you have smoke on the battlefield and it causes the enemies to not shoot. And then other times, the one enemy you don't want to shoot ends up shooting, not only shooting, but shooting harder than you wanted it to. And it just causes all kinds of chaos and you just feel bad. But the game just does a really good job of kind of creating this very like living, breathing world. And this like kind of grand strategy, trying to move your troops on both sides, manage what's happening, lower your casualties and all that stuff. So I just love all that. And I think it's really fun. Now, as far as things that I dislike about this game, it's kind of hard to talk about dislikes for this game because I feel like there's a lot that I don't like about this game. But in spite of the things I don't like about this game, I like this game a lot. So what I mean by that is that I really dislike the grand strategy that I was just talking about in my pros. I dislike the grand strategy because I feel like, you can do all this work. Like I literally played 7 to 8 hours, and there was like a point in the middle of my playthrough. I'm not gonna spoil what happened, but there was a point in the middle of my playthrough where I felt like I was doing really good, and then the Fire Nation attacked, you know, and then like my strategies start falling apart, and I had to like replan and regroup and try to change things up, and it just didn't feel good because I'm not that great at grand strategy. So this con I'm putting as a con and also a pro because I'm not really that good at grand strategy. I work better at like the more tactical, like, okay, this is happening, I can do this, and this game has tactical elements to it, but it really does reward like more of a grand strategy, like setting up a big move or setting up trying to get a big push come in or do like a giant attack on somebody. It really does reward that, and I feel like that's something I ended up, you know, kind of feeling a little bit sour on, especially when I finally realized what I should have been doing the whole time, and it's too late. As you know, that the opportunity's gone, the enemy's attacking, and my guy who's going to do the thing is dead. So I'm putting that as a dislike because I can. Moving on to other things that I dislike. I kind of dislike how long this game lasts. I think for the kind of game that it is and what you're doing, it makes a lot of sense that this game is for the first waves, about an 8-hour game. But I can only imagine when you finally start fighting up here and moving your troops up and actually doing the actions to get your tanks to move up roads and start to move them around and shoot up the enemies. I mean, I feel like that's easily like a 16-hour game, and I don't know if I got time for a 16-hour game. That's a whole weekend that you're taking up just playing the game. So I think it's a con for me about how long this game is. I'm not opposed to playing long games. I am playing the Golden Age of Piracy. I don't think I'm finished with that one by the time I post this video, but I am playing through the Golden Age of Piracy, and that game is basically, I think, at the time we're recording this specific video, I finished playthrough number 3, not playthrough, I finished session 3, and each session is about 3 hours long, or 4 hours long, so is that between 9 to 12 hours? So I'm definitely going longer in the tooth with the Golden Age of Piracy. But for this one, in just one setting, to kind of have all that done, and you know, for you to either finish it all or just kind of give up and put it away, or lose and put it away, or win, or just claim that you won and just put it away, that just feels like a really huge time investment, especially considering that this game doesn't really have a good save mechanism. Like, you could play it on Vassal, which is what I did. I didn't play it on Vassal, but I loaded up the Vassal module for D-Day at Omaha Beach, and I basically went through every single unit that I had on the board and every single enemy I had on the board, marked where they were, and just kind of put the game to the side. I didn't clean up everything because I did do my video in 2 parts, but that allowed me to kind of save it, but that was very tedious. It took me like an hour to do that, and I ended up not needing it anyway because I got right back to the game. So it just goes a long way to say that this game's a really huge time investment. And I think that's a big con. This kind of puts into the world of games like Mr. President, Mage Knight, stuff like that, to where you just need a lot of time to dedicate to playing it, or you just gotta really like playing that game. I'm at the point where I probably would only play this game in person if I could play with 2 players, or maybe I'm trying to show somebody like the concept of the game, or just trying to demo it. But otherwise, if I want to play a full version of this game, I might just break down and just play it on Vassal instead, or play it on Tabletop Simulator instead, because just not having to clean up all the stuff is kind of good. So the length of the game, the amount of stuff that you got to keep track of, and by keep track of, I don't mean you have to keep track of it like in a big way. I do have a storage and organization system here. I'm using Cube for Me trays, and these trays are a lifesaver for keeping things in order and keeping things findable. But if you don't have something like that, if you're using plastic bags, or if you're using you know, some other storage like tins or something, yeah, it's a nightmare trying to fish for the piece that you need. And I can only imagine how much worse that becomes when you don't have some kind of organization system already in play. So all that goes along when I say that those are my pros and cons for the game. As far as my rating for this game, if I'm to give this game a rating, though I do think this game is one that I will not put on the table very often, it is like maybe like a once a year game for me when I have some free time or something. Maybe I got a whole like 4-day weekend or something going on. I might pull this bad boy out and give it a shot while listening to some World War II documentaries. As far as my rating for this game though, I would give a rating of a solid 7.5 out of 10. I do want to rate it higher, but I think 7.5 for me feels pretty strong for this game, and feels complimentary of what this game offers and the space that it offers it. And I keep saying space it offers. I just want to emphasize, or I just want to expand on that for a second. This game is very straightforward. You have your people on the beach, you storm the beach, you shoot the enemy shoots you, and you try to survive. and then you try, after you finally take out, get a little bit of a foothold, then you start pushing into the island, or you start pushing into Normandy, and you start trying to take over everything else. So the game is pretty linear, in the sense that you're first few rounds you're trying to survive. The next few rounds after that, you're trying to like position yourself to get yourself into a hopefully get yourself an opportunity to attack the enemy wherever there's weaknesses that are showing up. And then after that, you're trying to just kind of sweep through and clean up, and then you're trying to move forward. So the game is very procedural, and the game is very linear. But despite the fact that it's very procedural and linear, you do need to be very adaptable about how you approach it, because sometimes this gunner just keeps shooting and they won't stop shooting, and you just need to start attacking this side. And other times, this gunner will start shooting at the worst possible time, and now you got these guys over here that are just deciding to take a vacation, and you can start walking people over there. But the question is, do you have your troops in a position to where you can take advantage of the of the ceasefire over here? Or do you have your troops in position to where you can minimize your losses for the constant bullets that keep flying over here? And that's kind of where I think this game shines, because I think it does a great job of simulating the hectic conditions that we're at, that were on D-Day, on that fateful day. Was it December 9th? Was it December 9th, Operation Overlord? Oh man, I should know this. Is it December 9th or November 9th? December 9th, D-Day. Nope, that's not what I typed. When was D-Day? I'm sorry. June 6th? Wow, why was I so far off? What was December 9th? I feel like December 9th was something important too. All right, yep. I'm glad I looked it up. All right, so y'all can go ahead and add another point, because I don't know when D-Day was. Sorry, June 6th was when D-Day happened. That's when that took place. Operation Overlord. Cool. Man, I really don't. What was? Oh, was that Pearl Harbor? You know what, man? I mixed up D-Day with Pearl Harbor. Yeah, that was December 7th. But yeah, I was thinking Pearl Harbor when I was saying D-Day's date. All right, whatever. My inability to know history aside, 7.5 is what my rating would be. I like a lot of things about this game. This is definitely a game that I'll play maybe once a year at most. I really don't see me playing this game twice in a row. I'm definitely put into the same category as something like Mr. President, where I appreciate what it's trying to do. I think I'll just play it digitally. And even Mage Knight, I'm going to eventually go back in and try to give Mage Knight another shot, but I feel like Mage Knight is just not a solo game for me. This game, I think, I also want to play 2 players, just like Mr. President, because I feel like there could be a lot of good back and forth conversations, and kind of simulate that whole, I got my side, do you got yours, you need some troops, I can send you some troops and transfer command over to you to help you out and reinforce over there. I feel like that could be a really cool thing, to kind of sit with a friend and go through the motions of trying to survive war. But just short of that, 7.5 I think is where my rating will stand, and I'll leave it at that. All right, cool. So we are all done with the review section. So if you got everything you needed from the review, you know how to play the game, cool. But if you want to know how the game plays, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the mechanics of the game. I'm just going to walk through the first round, or first two rounds of this game, and then I'm going to call it at that, because I feel like that should be enough. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go through setup here. So let me bring out the pieces. And for setup, what we need to do is we need to set up the enemy first. So for setup here, I'm going to go into the rulebook, because I do not have this memorized by heart here. Oh, actually, does it tell me on here? One second, I have a cheat sheet that might tell me exactly how to set up. No joy. Okay, nope. We do not get that. We do not get that. We don't get the easy way in. We gotta do it the hard way. So I'm gonna go to the rulebook and I'm gonna choose my scenario. I will zoom in here on the rulebook so we can look at this together. Oh boy. All right, we're gonna see every word on this rulebook. Let me tell you. All right. So over here in the rulebook, we see here where it says setup for our first waves in D-Day. So there is an easy scenario you're gonna play. I'm gonna go over that because the first waves or D-Day at Omaha Beach. D-Day at Omaha Beach is the full game. The first waves is the half full game, if you will. So let me zoom out a little bit because this is hurting my eyes. There we go. All right, and we're gonna skip over to I think it's in the rulebook, is it? Yeah. So So we have in the rulebook here Easy Fox. So we're gonna play Easy Fox. Oh, I see. So Easy Fox, I did the first waves of my playthrough, and then D-Day Omaha Beach, and then Beyond the Beach is... So you just start on turn 17? Huh. Alright, cool. Alright, sorry, I'm just reading that now for the first time for some reason. So Easy Fox, we're going to do the Easy Fox, and we need to do the setup that's on the player aid card. So we're going to go to player aid card number 3, right here, for the introductory scenario. And what we're going to do is we're going to set the game up based on what it's telling us here. So I'm not going to show this on the screen the whole time. I'm going to actually do it, and we will hopefully meet on the other side of a setup board game. So, getting our camera into place, let's go ahead and start. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix together all 18 depth markers. So the depth markers, there's a lot of different markers in this game, a lot of different chits and bits in this game. This is one of those chits and bits games. So you're just kind of pushing bits all over. But you're going to have all these depth markers here. I have some more left up here from my previous playthrough. Put them down here where they belong. And these depth markers will be basically other things that you need to fight against when the enemy when you try to take on the enemy. When you try to take on the enemy, which in this case are the Germans, and more specifically the Nazi Germany. So I know that word is forbidden to say in some places, but we are fighting the Nazis here, which is good because you should fight Nazis. Nazis are bad. All right, now that I said that 4 times, I got demonetized. Let's go and continue our setup. So we're going to go ahead and take the 18 depth markers here, which are these, and they say WN depth on the back of them. Debating if I should zoom in for that. I'll use the other camera because I don't want to keep zooming in and zooming out here and be jarring. So let's zoom and scooch over. That's good enough. All right, so we're going to show it on the other camera here so we can kind of see that a little bit closer. So if you look at that, it shows WN depth. Whoa, that is out of focus. So it says WN depth. These are the depth markers. So you want to make sure you take these 18 depth markers, mix them up so you can get nice and random. And we're going to place certain ones in certain locations. Sorry, we're going to place different ones in certain locations. So going back over to our main view, what we're going to do is we're going to place 4 of our depth markers. We're going to put one here. We're going to put one there. We're going to put one here. And nope, one here, and then one here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put one depth marker over there on WN65N. I'm going to put one depth marker on, oh no, my tweezers, they're betraying me. WN62, WN62 north. And then we're going to put one depth marker on WN61. And we're going to put one depth marker on WN60. Why did I go backwards? I have no clue. Okay. All right, so we've done that. Now, after we've done that, we're going to put 4 of the remaining depth markers on the board in the depth box. This box up here, I'll just zoom our camera up there once so we can see it. We're going to put 4 markers here in this box. I have the other markers here left from the previous playthrough, but normally you just kind of put the markers that the game is going to tell you because the Easy Foxtrot mode that we're about to play is going to be an abbreviated version of the game to hopefully teach you the rules and give you a good feel of how things go. So I'm only putting 4 depth markers here because that's what the rulebook said. So we're going to take 4. So 1, 2, 3, and finally number 4. Was it necessary for me to do it that way? No. Did I want to? Yes. So I did. All right. The rest of them we're not going to play with. So we're going to leave the rest of these in my tray here. Next, we're going to mix together the 18 units randomly. So there's 3 different types of units. There's a few different types of units. So these are the 18 WN units. And again, I'll bring it over to the camera so we can see a little bit closer. Oh, of course, because I hit the button. Oh my gosh. It's going to be a nightmare. All right, there we go. There we go. So we're gonna take the markers with WN. They're in fancy letters here, but those are WN markers, WN enemies, and we're gonna have essentially 9, I guess they're normal enemies. We're gonna have 1 rocket enemy, and then we're gonna have 6 75s, so 3 here, 3 there, and then 2 88s right there. So that's what our total marker should be. So in total, we should have 18 of these guys, and these are all the WN units. So we're gonna put 1 unit that's gonna be marked with the 88, so this guy, and we're gonna put this one on 61, WN 61. So we're gonna put them on WN 61 right there. Yep. Then we're gonna take we're gonna take 3 units. With the artillery symbol. The artillery symbol is going to be the 75 one with a dot. So the non-88. Oh, actually, I lied. This is random. So we're going to randomly choose either one of the 88s or one of the 75s. There should be 7 total left. We're going to randomly choose this. I'm just going to choose like this randomly. We're going to put 1 there on position 60. We're going to put 1 over here on 62S. And then we're going to put 1 here on 65S, like so. Okay. And then we're going to put 3 non-artillery units. So 3 non-artillery and not rocket. But 3 non-artillery units on the remaining spots. Oh, I lied. No, it tells me specifically which spots. So not the remaining spots, specifically the ones it calls out. So 62N, we're going to cover that, which is this one. Yeah, 62N. So this one's going to have a depth marker under it. So notice that it's going to be a non-artillery WN unit, and it's going to have a depth marker. So that means it's going to be kind of more dug in. It's going to be harder to take out overall. We're going to take another one and put it on 64. So he's just by himself. And then finally, we're going to take another one and put it on 65N. Done. Okay, and then the remaining 11 ones are not used for this particular scenario. Cool. We're going to leave them out of the way. All right, and then next, we're going to put 2 German artillery units in the spaces for the East Sector artillery box. So they're already up here, but they're essentially these little markers here that have inactive on the back of them. And on the other side, they're going to have essentially a call number and then either 88 or 105. So there's specific spots for them. So this is going to say 1 flask. So we're going to put, or 1 flak. We're going to put 1 flak there. And up here, it also says 1/1352. So that one's going to go there. So we got those in the respective spots, and we're going to put them on their inactive side. So we're going to flip them to their inactive side and then put them in the box. These are artillery. They're going to represent if their artillery is going to hit us or not. It's going to be a little check that we're going to do. We're not going to see in this demo here, but that's what that means. All right, next we're going to put, we have those units there. We're going to put 9 reinforcement markers marked with a T. Now I have all these kind of set up already, so I'm not gonna undo what's already up here. But we're going to take 9 of these units, these German tactical reinforcement units, and these units you'll note that they have the same backs. So this is the German tactical units, or the T units. These are the D units. And these are the M units. So you will need to flip them face up to see what they look like. Oh, sorry. And I'll get a few here so we can look at them together. So you will need to camera number 4, I think. Okay, of course, wrong button. There we go. So you will need to take these units here, and if you look at them, they have the same backs, but if you look on the front, they'll have different letters on the side, and that's what we're concerned about. So this is a M unit, because it has a little M on the side there. This one is also a M unit. This one's a D unit, and then these 2 are T units. So you're going to take the respective letters and keep the ones that are similar together. So you're going to keep all the M's together, and you're going to mix those together face down. You're going to take all the D's together, mix those together face down. You're going to take all the T's together, mix those together, and keep them face down, and then put them in their respective boxes up there. So that's essentially what it's going to have you do. All right, so So that we've done that, we'll put these guys back. So these are the M's. These are the D's. And these are the T's. Okay, so that's all done. And they're in their respective boxes. For the Easy Foxtrot mode that we're playing, we're only going to need the T's. Yeah, the D's and the M's are not used. I just have them up there because they're already up there, so I'm not going to move them. All right, next. Next, what we need to do is we need to take 8 building depth markers. I'm not going to move them for where they are, but we're going to take 8 building depth markers. So my depth markers are down here. We're going to take, down here. Oh man. So my 8 markers are down here. And we're going to put these in the box that's marked for them. We're also going to take 10 mobile depth markers, which are these markers here. It says mobile depth on the back of them. We're going to take 10 of these and put them in the box. So 14 are not going to be used. Again, I'm not going to move them. We'll keep them where they are. And that is it. So the only units that you use for the US side, so all the German side is set up. The only units that you're going to use for the German side are going to be the darker units. So we'll zoom in a little bit closer. Again, there's a lot of zooming in here, I know, but it's important. I got to make sure you guys have an understanding of what we're looking at and why we're looking at it. So my apologies ahead of time. But if you look at the units pretty closely, you can see that there's 2 different sets of colors. There is light green, and then there's darker green. And if you're ever confused about which one belongs to which side because the colors are so darn similar, you can kind of divide them by letters. So you have the FG, you'll notice you have FG, wait, there we go. This is a better example. Oh, look, my hair. So you'll notice here that you have ER5, FG2, FG5, and ER3. If you look at the board right here, you'll notice that these landing boxes have some letters that are in blue. So for instance, FG2 is going to go in the FG2 spot right there. Oh no, my tweezers, they failed me. All right, FG2 is going to go in the FG2 spot. FG5 is going to go in the FG5 spot like so. And that can kind of help you know which units belong to which side. Because if you'll notice here for the light green units, their letters and numbers are not over here. So this one's DG2, this one's DW1, DW3, and DG3. So therefore, they're going to be on the other side. They're going to be on the other island, which if we go back to the other side, we'll see that we have DG2 right there. We have DW1 right there, DW3 right there, so on and so forth. So that can help you figure out which units belong to which side. What this game is essentially saying is that units that are on this side, we're not using anybody on this side. We're not setting up enemies on this side. We're not using any allies on this side. We're ignoring this side of the board completely. So we're ignoring completely the west sector, which again, north is pointing towards us. But because north is pointing towards us, that means that east is over here and west is over there. So that means that we're not playing anything in the west sector. So we're ignoring completely the US 29th Division division side, or the blue and the gray. And we're instead focusing on the US 1st Division Infantry, and that's going to be the Big Red One. A name you might have heard, a nickname you might have heard. Okay, so knowing that much, we got our tanks. We're going to go ahead and set them up. We're going to continue with our setup. So we need ER3 is going to be here. And then ER5 is going to be there. And last but not least, if you do not have some kind of organization system like this, what the game suggests you do, or what I would recommend you do, is take all of the units that are going to be belonging to the correct side. So in this case, all the units for the Big Red 1 side, I'm going to take all of them and I'm going to align them up here. I'm going to align them up here, like put them in a single stack and then put it aligned with when they're coming out. And that will be very useful because you'll be able to know when the units are coming out, where they're going to go, and that'll help you keep track of that. I'm going to keep my units in here because I had an organization system, but if you don't have one, like I said before, take your entire stack of ones here, for instance, and put them up here. So that way when you're doing your turn 1, when you get to the phase where you need to put these guys out, you'll be able to just grab the stack, put them where they need to go, and then move on. Okay. All right, so that's all done. So we're all set. We got our units out here. And now we've got a turn marker in the right spot, and we're not going to use a phase marker. We're going to shuffle the cards, and then we're going to get started. Oops. Okay, so we're all done. Everything's all shuffled, we're ready to go. So now we're going to go ahead and start the game. And we're going to start the game by going through this little phase tree. I'm going to show it initially, draw the cards that we're going to be using, and then afterwards we're going to never look up there again, because I want to try to keep the camera focused down here. So bringing our camera up to the top, we'll see here that we're going to basically walk through this phasing, which is essentially going to be the East Sector landing cards. We're going to ignore the West Sector stuff. We're going to do the event phase, which we're going to skip on turn 1. And then we're going to do the East Sector German firing section. We're going to ignore the West Sector stuff because we're not playing the West Sector. And then we're going to move over to our player actions, where we get to basically take our 2 actions that I talked about earlier. If you didn't watch the review and want to see the playthrough, you take your 2 actions. And as you take your 2 actions, you're all done. And then you move on to the next round, move your round counter up, and then kind of keep going. Clear the cards and then draw some new cards and do all that fun stuff. So for this one, actually I should check the rules. Do we get to know all the cards that are coming up? I like to do it one at a time anyway. So first we're gonna go ahead and take our deck. We're gonna draw our first card for the East Sector landing card. Now these cards are multi-use cards. They will have a lot of information on them, but for the landing section, we're gonna only focus on the top of the card. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom back down to our board where we are. We're gonna bring this card in, and you'll notice that we have some symbols and letters, and we also have the symbols that match down here for our units. So starting off with the diamonds, we're gonna see what diamond A is. Anything that's gonna say on our landing charts is what we're gonna follow. So we're currently in turn 1, so we're gonna follow this turn 1 section. We're gonna ignore everything else. We're just focusing only on this turn 1 section. And this one's saying diamond A. So for the column of A, this one says that the units that are matching this are delayed. Place them in turn 2 space in the turn track. So I'm going to take all the units that are A, diamond, and put them in turn 2 track. This means that the representation for this is that the waters were not very predictable. They were kind of sloshing around. You would deploy to try to land here, but you end up landing way over here, or you would deploy to land over there, but you would drift way over there to the other side. So that's what it's trying to simulate with how the landing happens here. So those 2 were delayed. That's not great, but it happens. Next is going to be triangle. Is going to be C. So for triangle, we're going to have C. C is going to say lose 1 step. So lose 1 step basically means this tank has 2 health, and lose 1 step is essentially take a damage. And then after we finish evaluating the units, we're going to let it just land into the box for the landing section, and that's it. Next, circle is going to be B, and I think B is kill. Yeah, B is eliminated. So look at it here. So B is eliminated. So this one's gonna die. That's our first, not our first casualty, but a first death. Now, speaking of casualties, the game will end in a catastrophic loss if either side has eight catastrophic losses. Catastrophic losses are determined by when you need to pull out the 1 pip unit of an infantry, a regular infantry unit, not a ranger, but a regular infantry unit. Then you will have a catastrophic loss. So what I mean by that is that, well, actually, I'll explain what I mean by that later. But for right now, just know that the tank does not count for a catastrophic loss. I did lose some people, I did lose a unit, but it wasn't an infantry unit, therefore it's not a catastrophic loss. The world can still turn. That's what that's implying. This symbol here on the side is a mine symbol. We ignore that completely until we get to the mid tide. So we're gonna ignore that completely. It doesn't matter right now. We're gonna let it just kind of drift out of our mind. Okay, cool. So now we've done that, we're gonna go to our next section. So we're done with the landing. Let me go back down here. Now that we're done with that, we're gonna actually take our stack of 1s. Remember how I said before, for the round tracker, you should put your stack next to it. We're going to take that stack and put it in its respective spot. So we're going to look at all of our units here, which are going to be for round 1 for the big red 1 here on the side. So I have mine kind of divided. This is the initial tanks that you get. So you get 4 tanks on the west, 4 tanks on the east. Right here is going to be all the units for the big red 1. Right here is going to be all the units for wave 1 for the green and the blue on the other side on the west. And then everything else is kind of divided by section because there was enough space for me to do it this way. So that's just me explaining how these are divided. So wave 1, I need to put these units out in the water. All right, continuing on with that. So we have a tank that's going to be FG4. We have another tank that's going to be ER2. We got a infantry unit that's going to be ER3. Another infantry unit is going to be ER6. We have a infantry unit that's going to be FG5. And we have another one that's going to be FG2. So that's what our landing is going to look like. So that's going to be it for the landing phase, the landing check. So just to recap, what we did was we essentially drew our card to figure out how our landing is going to happen. So our landing happened in the way it happened. We processed that for everybody who started in the box at the top of the round. And then after we finished landing everybody, taking our consequences, kind of calculating whatever needs to be calculated, then we take all the units that are marked as for that wave, for that round. So these are round 1 units. These get put into the box, and then next round, on round 2, we'll evaluate these guys with a brand new landing card and look it up on the chart and everything. All right, so now we're done with that. We're gonna go back up to the top finally, and we're gonna check our event. Notice we skip on turn 1, so we're not gonna do that. Then we move over to the German firing section, and this is where the fun starts. So German firing section, I'm gonna draw a card, and it's gonna show some information. So for this particular phase, we're gonna look at the bottom of the card. Again, we're not looking at the top, we're not looking at the middle, we're looking at the bottom now. So let me go ahead and bring this over, and let's go ahead and look at what we're looking at. So for the German firing section, what's happening is everybody who is in a respective color is going to be attacking based on the symbols and the color that are here. So what I mean by that is if you look here, you'll see a symbol of diamond. So that means that everybody who is a diamond is eligible to be shot. If you are not a diamond, if you're a circle or a triangle, you are not eligible to be shot unless you're in an intense fire spot. So this is where we got to start talking about firing zones and talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. So let's go ahead and break into some detail here. So looking at the map, there's a lot of information on it, but the most important piece of information that you need at this time is the little firing circles. So if you look here, this is a yellow nest here. And this yellow nest is shooting all these yellow spots. Now these yellow spots will have different intensity levels. So for instance, this spot right here, this yellow spot right here is a, what is it called? 1 second, let me get the right word. This is called a sporadic firing section. This little open circle here, that's the sporadic firing section. This kind of half circle here, little, I guess, sign looking circle here is called a steady fire location. And this spot here is called an intense fire location. So the German enemy units will fire in a certain priority order, but essentially what's happening right now is that for anybody who is diamond, and I'll use somebody who's actually attacking, which is purple, purple will attack them. And purple will attack them equal to a certain number of attacks, depending on what their stack is. So the only thing you really need to know right now, just make sure you're getting the message of what I'm talking about here, is that if there's anybody standing in any of the range locations, we will check to see if they get hit. And if they are getting hit, then we'll check to see if their symbol, we'll check to see what type of firing they're in. And then if they are in a certain type of firing for somebody that's actually shooting, then we'll check to see if their symbol matches. If it does, then they take a hit, they lose a step, and some other stuff can happen. But for the most part, that's how that works. So going back over to here though, this one's actually a pretty reasonable card because it's not going to do too much. We're going to zoom back out to our normal map. And here we see that red is attacking diamonds. So red is going to be these two. You'll notice here that red shows 2 squares, and we have 2 different reds here. We have a single square red, and we have a red with a depth marker. So we have a red with a depth marker, and we have a red without a depth marker, essentially. So when it shows a double square, that means that only units with depth markers, doesn't matter how many, but they have to have at least 1, can shoot. So that means that only this guy is going to shoot. So I'm just going to put a little marker here to show that he's shooting. And this other guy back here, even though he is red, he's not shooting. Now on the flip side of that, when it shows a single box like this one here is a double stack. No, it's just showing a single stack. This means that everybody who is of that color can shoot. So in this case, this purple will be shooting as well. And then finally, we see this one's a double blue. there's a single blue here, so it does not have a death marker. Therefore, it will not shoot. It is not eligible to shoot right now. Okay, so now we know who all shooting. Again, I use these markers to show who's shooting. Then we figure out, okay, how do the shots land? So first, we're going to check our only unit on the beach, which is this one tank. This one tank is not in range of anybody shooting, so therefore nothing happens. So no damage happens, everything's hunky-dory, we're all good. And that's it. That's the firing phase. That is completely evaluated. Now, we're going to go into the action phase, and again, I have two actions, so I'm going to use, because I'm playing Big Red 1, I'm going to use these big red thumbs. Get it? I know, sorry, my apologies. I'm going to use these two big red thumbs to show my actions that I have. The game does come with little chits that you can use for your action markers to show your action was taken. I don't use those because I have giant big red thumbs. So why wouldn't I use the big red thumbs? On this particular case, I can't really do a ton with my tank. I have two actions. Each unit can only act once. So therefore, I only have one action because I only have one unit on the board right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this one action to do a barrage attack. So there's a few different things I can do. There is an action card that the game comes with that lets you know all of the various actions you can do. So definitely find this card and hold on to it because it'll give you all your actions. But for a tank, I can choose to either move, I can choose to attack if I meet all the requirements, which I currently do not. In order for me to attack, I need to be adjacent to where I'm attacking at. And there's some other requirements that are required too, but that's the main one. That's one of the main ones. Oh, sorry, that's not the only one, but that's one of the main ones. Next, I have to... Actually, no, let me go back. For the attacks, it's important for me to clarify that. So the attack must include at least one infantry unit adjacent to the target. So what I need to do to attack is I have to attack with at least one infantry unit adjacent to the target. So the tank is not eligible to attack until infantry gets close enough to be right next to it to also start firing at it. And then I guess the idea is that the infantry is like kind of calling in the attack and the tank is attacking, we're coordinating, all that fun stuff. All right. I just wanted to clarify that. But what I can do is I can do what's called a barrage attack. And a barrage attack is going to be very important. A barrage attack is going to allow me to hopefully disrupt the enemy from shooting and maybe give myself a little bit more cover next time around whenever my units start coming online. So I'm going to do a barrage attack. I'm going to try to do a barrage attack on this guy. So what we do for barrage attacks is first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to declare who I'm attacking. I'm attacking that guy. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a card from the deck and I'm going to flip it. And now that I flip the card, I'm going to look at the card and evaluate it. So there's a chart here for the barrage attacks. And this is the chart that the game comes with. I'm not going to use this chart. I'm going to use the fancy chart that I printed out because the fancy chart looks prettier. That's the only reason why. So we are doing a US barrage right here. And what we check is we check the card and we check to see, okay, does the symbol match? No, the symbol does not match. Does the color match? Well, the color does match. We have a green match, but we do not have a symbol match. My symbol is triangle. That symbol is circle. This color is green, and that color is green. It doesn't matter if it's a 1 or 2, it's just a green. That's all it cares about. So it looks like the color does match. And then we check here, what is the strength of our tank? So my tank is currently a strength of 2 with a range of 5, which is why I could barrage. There's some other checks too that I gotta clarify, but I'll clarify those after I finish this. So my strength is 2, therefore I go into this column, and the color matches, the color and the symbol do not match, so it's just the color. Therefore, I get to disrupt if there's no depth. Well, unfortunately, there is a death marker under that guy. Revealed or not, doesn't matter. So that means that nothing happens. So I did a barrage, the barrage failed, and that's it. So I'm gonna put my little check mark there to show that I've taken my action. I'm gonna use that same design language as I go along, and that's it. My attack failed. I have no other actions that I can take. Therefore, I will put this, or I'll end my turn. I'll put this thumb away. Okay, so that's all done. So that's it for round 1. Now that we're done with round 1, we're gonna go back up to the top. We're gonna clear out all of our cards here. We're gonna move our turn marker up, and we're gonna move to round 2. So I'm gonna try to play out round 2 and maybe play out round 3, and then we'll finally end on the other side, and I'll give a summary of my review that you all might have heard earlier. All right, so starting off with round 2, we're gonna go ahead and draw our first card here to figure out our landing, because remember we have a lot of stuff landing this time. And now that we've done that, we're gonna go back down here, and we're going to bring our card down so we can see what it was. And landing, we have Diamond D. So now we go to our landing charts. Gotta find my landing chart. There we go. We go to our landing chart right here, and we're in turn 2 and 3. So we're on turn 2 currently. So therefore, we're going to use this section, not that upper section. So this section says for Diamond D, so Diamond D, so it's going to, oh man, got gnats. Oh no. Got him. Sorry, I had to kill a gnat. Sorry, for Diamond D, we need to know what kind of unit it was. So we have 2 infantry units. This is an infantry unit. This is also an infantry unit. And they're diamonds. So Diamond D for infantry units is going to tell us no effect. Hey, nice. So no effect, therefore they just drift on in. Cool, well done. Good job, team. Next is going to be Triangle B. So Triangle B, we have a tank and we have an infantry unit. So therefore Triangle B, the tank is going to drift 1 box east and the infantry unit is going to drift 2 boxes east. So therefore, the tank is going to drift 1 box east, which again, east is this way. Follow the compass here. And then the infantry unit is going to drift 2 boxes east. So, uh-oh. Blowing up stuff here. Oh my gosh, my tweezers are failing me. There we go. 1, 2. Now, I know I can use my hand, but this is more fun. Sorry. Trying to keep myself entertained here. Not that I'm not having fun. I just want to clarify. All right. So now we look at our last one. Our last one is Circle A. So A, we have a tank and an infantry unit. So A is going to be no effect. So this tank, this tank is going to float right on in. And then A for our infantry unit is drift 4 boxes east. Ooh, that's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's it. We got all our people on the beach. Everybody has been landed. Nothing bad happens from here. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And we're going to go back up to the top because we need to check our event. So we're done with the landing phase. Oh, no, we're not. Let me go back. Oh, no. Yeah, we're not done. So we're done with the landing phase, but we got to place our units. So we got 2 units up here on the track that were delayed by a round. That's our tanks from before. We're going to take those guys and we're going to put them in their respective boxes. So let's go and put them in respective boxes. So this one is going to be ER5. And this one's going to be FG2. Alright, so ER5 and FG2 are placed, and then we're going to take any other unit for Wave 2, which is none. There are no units for Wave 2. We're going to take any other units for Wave 2 and put them in their boxes, but the only units that we have are going to be those tanks. So that's it. So the game's kind of designed for that to happen on round 2. Alright, so we're all done. Now we get to draw our card for the event. So I'm just going to draw it down here instead of flipping back up there. So we're going to draw a card for the event, and the event here says intense German fire reduces action allowance from 2 to 1 in each division this turn. So what that means is that instead of taking 2 actions here, I only get 1 action, which is not great. So I only got 1 big red thumb this time. That's not great. All right, had 1 action last time, I got 1 action this time. Isn't it great? Cool game. All right, now this is done, we're going to see German fire. So we're going to go into the last phase here before we get to actually take our turn. So German fire, we're going to flip that card and we're going to see who's shooting. So right now we got a lot more options here to shoot, and we're going to see a lot more action happen. Hopefully nothing bad, but you never know. Well, probably everything bad. So we have red is going to be shooting, and it's a single, so that means that both of these guys are eligible to shoot. And then we have purple is going to be set to shoot. It's a single, so that means that that double stack can shoot. And then finally we have blue, which only has a single, but we need a double, therefore it's not shooting. Okay, now that's done, we're going to go ahead and evaluate the hits. So first, we're hitting diamonds. So that means that purple, and we're hitting diamonds because of this. So purple's going to hit any diamond. There's 1 diamond here, and the type of fire that he's in is currently in steady fire. So the thing that we do is we check to see, okay, the German is shooting in the right spot. The German has hit a unit validly. We will now evaluate the German fire chart. So going into here, we are in a steady fire spot. And the unit that was hit was and the result is, when you're in a steady fire spot, is going to be non-armored units with the target symbol indicated on the fire card loses a step. Now we're reading from this section of the chart and not that section. That section over here is for when there's unrevealed reinforcements that are attacking. We do not evaluate that. We evaluate only this side because we're currently being fired by a WN position or a revealed reinforcement position. This is a WN position. So therefore, we just take a hit, which is not great, but it's better than what it could have been. So this guy takes a hit. We're gonna flip him over to show that he's taking a hit. Now, if this guy takes one more hit, that's gonna be considered our first catastrophic loss. So we're gonna lose him if he takes a second hit, and then bad things will happen. If we get to 8 of those, the game will be ended. Now, additionally, when you're playing Easy Foxtrot, especially, is going to tell you the same rule that I played with one of my first waves anyway. But the Easy Foxtrot, one of the key rules is that whenever you have a unit that is hit, it can only be hit once. So if there was 2 units, if the yellow one was firing 2 and they also hit diamond, so this is a purple and a yellow, and they both hit diamond, instead of this guy taking 2 hits because it's being hit twice, it would only take 1 hit from either one. So that's important to know. Now, another thing is that the unit that is shooting, the enemy that is shooting, again, this game is full of a lot of tiny rules. I should mention that in my review, but I forgot to. The unit that's attacking, we look at how many markers is there. So this one has 2 markers. It has a depth marker and a depth marker, and it has the one that's actually shooting at us. So therefore, this one can shoot up to 2 different units. That's what that means, or it can shoot up to 2 times. So if there were 4 valid targets for it to shoot, for instance, then it can only hit 2 of them. And there's a checklist as far as what priority it would go in for actually determining what it hits and when it hits. Moving on, we have red to evaluate. Red is hitting diamonds as well. Unfortunately, this guy's a diamond, so therefore he's going to take a hit. And another thing to note is that there's 2 people shooting. Remember, our rule that we're following is that the soldier can only lose 1 step per round. So therefore, cannot lose another step right now, even though it's being shot by basically 3 different attacks. Alright, and that's it. Nobody else is in red, in the red firing line. Nobody's in the purple firing line. Everything's fine. Okay, cool. So now that's done, we're going to go into what's called a engineer phase. So the engineer phase is something that happens from turn 2 forward. So turn 1 we did not do it, just like we did not draw an event, but for now we get to do engineer phase. For the engineer phase, we basically look at any location. I'm sorry, if we look at the board here, we'll see that there's like a line of mines and kind of obstacles here. What we need to do is we need to clear those mines and obstacles. In this game, engineers are not represented by a specific chit that's on the board. Engineers are implied to be there, so they're kind of invisible, but they're there. But the engineers will be trying to clear these mines, and those are really important for the mid-wave section, which we're going to talk about. We're not going to play it, or the mid-tide section. We're not going to play it, we're going to talk about it, because that'll be way off. It'll take a little bit while for us to get to. But for the most part, the engineers will be able to clear mines, up to 2 right now, in spots that we're not shot at. So what that means is that any spot here on this line that has a red dot, I cannot clear. Any spot over here that has a purple dot, I cannot clear. So that means that I could clear these 2 because I have neither purple nor red. So therefore, I will clear those 2. And I represent that by putting these clear markers. Again, this is important for later. For right now, I can walk all over this and nothing's going to happen. But later on, whenever landing happens, it will cause mines to blow up during the mid phase. And those mines will cause me to lose a step when the person comes in. And that's really bad. Alright, so that's all done. Now I can remove all these markers. I like to put the markers because it also helps me with remembering to clear mines. And helps me visualize what was shooting so I can keep track of it properly. Alright, now we go into our phase. Remember, we only have 1 action. Now, like I said before, you might have been wondering, hey, how am I supposed to get all these guys moved? I got 1 action. What gives? Again, I told you before, self-preservation is an action that you can take with your infantry units. So your infantry units, as in non-vehicle, non-armor units, can do a self-preservation move for free. That's a free action. And what that means is I'm taking the unit and I'm on the beach and I'm moving from a beach tile to another beach tile that is towards cover. Now, cover is considered anything that is not a sheer cliff. So a sheer cliff is this orange little bit over here. So it's not a self-preservation to run this way, but anytime I'm running towards cover, which in this case will be considered this cliff or this bluff here, those are considered cover. and I can run towards, the way I read it is I can run towards the cover over there. I'm getting closer to the cover over there. Actually, technically I'm getting further, but technicalities aside, this is a solo game. You can kind of make it up as you go, right? All I gotta do is just run towards it. So, I'm gonna go ahead and have this guy self-preservation move and go right there. That's a free action. And I want to put a little red marker on him to show that he's moved. The game does not come with the markers, of course. This is aftermarket stuff. We're going to have this guy move forward as well for a self-preservation move. This tank, it requires an action to shoot or move with them, so he's going to chill. This guy here, he's going to self-preservation move. Not really any good spots, but he's just going to go ahead and run forward, charging in, self-preservation move. This guy over here, he's going to go ahead and try to run in, self-preservation move right there. And that's it for my self-preservation moves. The game recommends you do your self-preservation moves at the end. I like to do mine whenever I want, so I don't forget, but I put markers on them to show that I've moved them. Because remember, each unit, even if you get a free action, it does still count for their action. Count as their action for the turn. There's no circumstance in this game to where you are able to get a unit to move twice, or do two things. So that's pretty sad, but it's how the game goes. All right, next, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a barrage. I'm going to do another barrage. Now this time I'm going to try to do a barrage. Let's see. Who's in danger? This guy's in danger from green. So I'm going to try to do a barrage again. Now, I didn't explain how barrage aiming works, so I'll go ahead and explain that now. In order for me to do a barrage, a few things have to be true. First and foremost, my tank has to be in range. My tank has a range of 5. That's the second number here. The strength is 4, so the 4 here is the strength. So my tank has a range of 4, but, my tank has a strength of 4, but a range of 5. So that's important to note. Sorry, my nose is itching. Alright, continuing on, I'm going to do a barrage. Another thing that needs to be true is I need to be within one of the firing spots of the thing I'm trying to target. So I'm currently going to try to target the green guy here, this guy specifically. So therefore, I am in his line of fire, so therefore I can shoot back at him. And I am also in range. Again, my range is 5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I can reach him. So we're gonna go ahead and do a barrage, and we're gonna flip our card. And hey, nice. We got a symbol match and we got a color match. Even better. Heck yeah, that was great. Good draw. Good draw. So doing a barrage, we are going to get color plus symbol match. So color plus symbol match, and we are a strength of 4 because we're at strength 4. Therefore, we get disruption on that guy. So when a disruption happens, disruptions are great. Disruptions are the thing you always want to try to get on these guys. What a disruption means is that the next time this guy is set to shoot, the next time it's set to activate for firing, instead of firing, he'll remove the disruption. So it basically gives you cover for one of the firing rounds, and it's really powerful. You should definitely use it. It's important to use that. But that was my one action that I had for this round. I cannot do anything else. I've done all my self-preservations. My tanks are kind of stuck there on the back lines, and we're done. So the round is over. So we're going to go ahead and move the round marker up. We're going to clear our cards out of the way. And then, like I said, I'm going to play the third round, and then I'm going to end it there for the demo playthrough here. Also, again, I'm playing the easy foxtrot. I'm not playing the full game. The full game, what happens is you evaluate for the landing on this side, you deal with the consequences, and then you evaluate for the landing on that side, deal with the consequences, and then put all the things in the boxes. And then next, you'll do your event card, do whatever the event card says. And then next, you do your firing stuff. You'll figure out who's firing here on the east side, take damage, and do all that fun stuff. And then go to the west side, do the same thing. And then at the end of that, you'll finally be able to activate all of the east side first. And then once all of the east side is done, you'll activate all of the west side. And then everybody over there will be able to do their actions and stuff. And same rules apply. Only have 2 actions here, 2 actions over there. Or in the case that when that event came out, it gave me only 1 action, it would have impacted the other guy too. All right, continuing on, we're going to draw our card here for the East Landing. So the East Landing, we have Diamond C. So we're going to go back to our chart, and we have 2 diamonds. So this is going to affect both of them, so hopefully nothing bad. So C is going to be here for, that's not great. So for tanks, lose 1 step. All right, well, both of our tanks coming in with a hit. Not great. All right, and they land. Okay, so that's all done. Now that we're done with that, we're gonna move over to the next one, which is our events. We're gonna draw our events. And as you can see, this is a very procedural game here. This one says, place a hero marker on a unit in the 29th Division and add a death marker to one German unit. Well, the 29th Division is on the other side, and I'm not the 29th Division, so therefore, I get nothing. That's not great. So, because I get nothing, I am going to ignore that card, but I am going to put a death marker under one of the enemy units. Now, when you put a death marker under enemy unit, the order of doing that is you check anybody who does not have a death marker. So it's currently 1, 2, 3 guys that are eligible for that. Then we take a depth marker, and whoever is closest to a U.S. enemy unit is going to get first shot. So currently 1, 2, 3, and this guy is 1, 2, 3. This guy is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one's not eligible, but these two are eligible. And then if there's still a tie, you get to choose. So in this case, I'm going to choose to put it on... I'll put it over here. It's going to be hard enough to fight this over here, so I'm going to put it over here. It's going to make this still really hard to take down, but I want to try to break in here first and then go over there, maybe? I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that works out for us. Okay, so that is done there. Yeah, okay, no, we're good. So that's going to be it for the events. Now we're going to move over to the enemy shooting card. So the enemy shooting, we're going to start over here. So we have yellow, red, blue. So everybody's shooting by the looks of it. So yellow is activating. It's a single stack, but it's going to be able to do both single and double stacks or multi stacks. Next is going to be red. So red is going to shoot with both of its guys. It's not great. And blue is going to shoot as well. So we're going to shoot there. All right. So now we're going to figure out, oh, they're all hitting circle. So this section down here is artillery fire. We're not going to see artillery fire because we're going to end it at the end of this. And I'll talk about more stuff. But artillery fire, essentially, you'll check the things. So if this were active for the German firing phase specifically, as in if this was the card to show up for the next German firing phase when artillery was active, we would check to see if this is actually a condition met. So in order to check that condition, what happens during the German firing phase is that these become active in the top box up there. And we will check to see, is it true? Is it true that there are 3 or more of these particular things, a combination of these things? So right now we have an 88. So we have one 88, we have one 105. And do we have any 75s? Okay, we have one 75 here, another 75 there, another 88 there, another 75. Therefore, the artillery would shoot. And when the artillery shoots, it's going to basically attack a box out here that matches the symbol. Speaking of which, I forgot to put my units out. I always end up forgetting. My apologies. So it's going to be FG4, FG5, and ER2. So with artillery, just for me to go back and finish explaining that, we'll check a circle. So we did check this, and this was valid. We'll check a circle, and any circle, a single circle, is going to take a step loss. So this guy would take a step loss if this were active, if artillery were active when this card showed up. But artillery was not active when this card showed up, but that's how that works. So artillery is really gross. It usually shows up at the worst time. As you can see, it can cause you some problems before you even hit the water, or before you even hit the beach. All right, so going on to with the firing, we got everybody marked who's going to be firing, so we can move this card out of the way. Oh, actually, hold on, we have a very important thing to show. So we have an anti-tank symbol. So this symbol dictates that tanks can be hit. Now, I'm going to evaluate I'm going to evaluate yellow first, because yellow is going to be a great example as well. I'm going to evaluate yellow first because yellow is going to be a great example as well. What's going to happen is that yellow is going to attack and we have to choose. We get to choose 2 targets. We don't have to, but we get to. Sorry, we do have to, but I'm not happy to do it. But 2 targets are chosen. So we look at all people who are in range of it, and we currently see where we have this guy who's in range because he has a yellow symbol here. This tank is in range. This tank is in range. This tank is in range. This guy's in range, and this guy's in range. Now, when there's multiple options that match, first and foremost, we have to check to see who can actually be hit. So in this case, there is no anti-tank symbol inside of this one, so this one is not eligible to be able to hit tanks. So all the tanks are fine. The armor cannot be hit. Next, we check to see who's in a higher priority firing spot. So if they're in a solid or a steady, intense fire spot, they're definitely going to be hit. If they are in a steady fire spot like these 2 here, then they're next up on the list to be hit. And then finally, the sporadic fire over here, this open symbol, that's the last eligible to be hit. So in this case, the 2 targets that are going to be hit are going to be anybody who has a circle that is in a steady fire spot. Fortunately for these guys, this is a triangle, this is a diamond. They're not going to be hit. Unfortunately for this guy, he's the only eligible target at all. So therefore, he does get hit with whatever that symbol is. So that is going to be German firing. And we have a open symbol plus non-armored, so they're going to be disrupted. And disrupted basically means that they will not do anything this turn. The only thing they can do is remove that disruption marker for this turn. That's their entire action this turn. So it could have been a lot worse, but actually kind of panned out a little well for us. Next up, we're going to move over to blue. So blue is going to be shooting, and blue is shooting nobody. Oh no, blue is shooting this tank. And perfect. All right, this tank here is another great example. So it's a tank, it's a circle, therefore it matches, but it does not have an anti-tank symbol, therefore no damage happens. So it does not take a hit. So now blue has shot. Now we'll go over to red. Red can shoot up to 4 things, and it does have to match the symbol there. I'm pointing that out because I always end up forgetting it myself, so I'm just kind of pointing it out for you guys and also for myself. But it has an anti-tank symbol. That means that tanks are eligible to be hit by red. Fortunately for both of these guys, they are not the right symbol. Therefore, the red completely misses, and they do not get a hit on those guys. So we got really lucky with that round. That all we took was a single disruption. Now, additionally, we checked to see if we can clear mines. Note that yellow shot, blue shot, and red shot. So the only spot that I'm eligible to kind of clear a mine will be over here on this purple spot. So I'm going to clear this mine over here, because every other spot has one of those colors shooting at it. So our engineers were able to walk over here, and we can clear up to 2, but unfortunately we can only clear 1 safely or at all. And that's going to be it for that. So now we're done with that. We're going to go ahead and play our action phase, and then we'll wrap things up here. So for our action phase, for the soldiers action phase, we have our 2 actions back. I'm going to go ahead and remove this disruption as this guy's free action. So he can't do anything else. Next up, I think I'm going to do a self-preservation action. I'm going to move this guy forward. Actually, hold on, before I do. So this is a bluff. This is a cliff. I think I'm going to have this guy climb up here. So I'm going to spin. This is not a self-preservation action. This is a normal action. Ah, no, that's risky. I don't want to do that yet. Do I? Shoot. Now, you know what? Yeah, we're going to do a self-preservation action. We're going to move from beach tile to beach tile over here. Now, the reason why I didn't want to move into here is because, 1, I'll have to do a climb action because I need to climb up that bluff, this little bluff here. And then 2, it will cost me one of my 2 actions. Instead of kind of spending actions, I want to get my units up further on the beach, kind of in position to where they can start attacking and maybe doing something before I actually get them up there and in danger. Speaking of getting into danger, we are now going to move this guy forward into the danger zone. So he's going to move up here. A self-preservation move, because he's moving towards cover, and the cover he's moving towards is this cover up here. I don't think the shingles count as cover. Do they? Let me check. Oh no, I think shingles do count as cover. So what I'm referring to is a self-preservation move. An infantry unit in a beach hex may conduct a self-preservation move as a free action consisting of moving the unit from a beach hex it occupies to an adjacent beach hex that is closer to a protective hex side. If the destination is not a beach hex or is equidistant or further from a protective hex side, the move does not qualify as a self-preservation move. Shingle, seawall, slope, bluff, and scalable cliffs are protective hex sides. Now, I guess the other text that probably gets me from my previous playthrough was that if the destination hex is not a beach hex or is equidistant or further from a protective hex side. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to read that as I can run sideways. All right, whatever. I'll check the forums for that later. Anywho, moving back over to here, continuing my move before I was so rudely interrupted by the rules. We're going to move this guy up. He's going to run here. Self-preservation move. Just move from beach to beach. Alright, now that I've done all that, we're going to go ahead and use our tanks, and we're going to do some attacks here. We're going to do some barrages. So this guy is currently disrupted, which is great. We're going to try to use this guy to disrupt that guy. So we need triangle yellow. We got circle nothing, so that was a wasted action. And then we got this other tank that's pretty healthy. We're going to have this one try to barrage that. Can I reach? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I can. We're going to try to barrage this guy over there. So we need a circle green. We got green, but we did not get circle. So therefore we do get our success though, because we match the color and our strength is good. And there is a depth marker, or there's not a depth marker on it. So therefore we get a disrupt. So now green is completely out of commission for until they shoot again. So that's pretty good. And those are my 2 actions. So I'm all done. My turn is over. And then we essentially keep doing that until the game is over. Now, a few things that I didn't mention that are very important. One, there are some range requirements that are necessary for attacking. One of the things that I wanted to try to do was to try to move my tank forward and then try to get him in range for an attack for later on, but I'm not playing enough rounds to show all that. Another thing is that these intense fire spots are very important to pay attention to. These intense fire spots basically mean that if you have a unit in the intense fire spot, not only will they be prioritized, but they will be considered to have all matching symbols. So what that means is that if I had this tank here that's a triangle over here, whenever this yellow was firing, this tank would be considered first for getting shot, and second, because it's in an intense fire spot, this tank would be considered having a circle. Therefore, this tank would, this tank would not right now because it does not have a anti-armor symbol. But if this symbol did have an anti-armor symbol, then this tank would take a hit. Using a better example over here, if this tank over here were in this spot when red was attacking, it would definitely go down and we would have a destroyed tank. So it's an intense fire red spot, and even though the symbol doesn't match, it's an intense spot, so therefore it will lose a step, whether it had the matching symbol or not. And this one has an anti-tank symbol, so therefore it will super die and be gone. So those are important things to consider when you're trying to move your units and kind of position them. And also when artillery shows up, it's just doing all kinds of fun things to make your life a living hell. Again, there's a lot to love about the game. It's very procedural. You kind of do the procedure over and over and over. One thing I will say, just kind of reflecting on my playthrough, I did underestimate how much longer the game becomes when you're actually controlling both sides. Because when you're playing solo like this, you know, it's like, okay, it's a nice little flow. You got your little people moving around. You kind of shuffle them around the board and doing this and doing that. Everything's fine. You're kind of setting your people back up on the sea. You're kind of making decisions and, you know, having fun, trying to shoot things down. But once you include that other side, you have to do that twice. And again, it seems like it's very trivial. And I guess if you have 2 players playing, it actually speeds things up a lot. So you have one person controlling that side, you have you controlling this side, and you're kind of dealing with your consequences and making decisions as you go live. But playing solo, it definitely does kind of double. I would argue, well, I don't want to say triple, but it does double the amount of time that you play. So I feel pretty confident that I can knock out the easy scenario here in maybe about 2 hours. I do know for a fact that I cannot knock out the first waves, which is you playing both sides in kind of a half full game, all the way up to round 16, in 2 hours. I know for sure, even without my yapping back and forth, it'll probably take me a good 4, maybe 5 hours to actually knock that out. But with me recording and everything, it's definitely going to be a 7 to 8 hour adventure, whether I lose or not, and that's important to know. All right. I think I mentioned catastrophic losses already. That's when you're losing conditions. At the end of the game, you do win by holding certain locations. I'll let you guys look at the scoring in the back of the rulebook. It's not super complicated, but it's just essentially you need to have control of the draw here, of the entire draw. And control is considered you have a infantry unit if they have more than one step. Or sorry, if they have one step on them, then they control the spot that they're on. If they have more than one step, so 2 or higher, then they control all the regions around them. And you essentially want to have control of the entire draw. And if you do, you get 5 points. If you have control of a nest, as in this nest is being cleared out hypothetically, and I have this guy standing here, then he counts as having control of all the units around him because he has 3 pips, he has 3 steps. Therefore, I would get 1 point for that. If I control the entire draw, I get 5 points, and you have to get a total of 19 points. Actually, is it 19 points in an Easy Fox game? What's the score count? Maybe it has to be less, because it's 19 for when you're playing both sides. Let me see. I should say it on the sheets. I didn't see it. Apologies for not being prepared to know how scoring works for Easy Fox. Here we are. Victory. You win the scenario if you avoid catastrophic loss and have 9 victory points at the end of turn 19 as defined in section 13. Okay. Yep. So you have to have at least 9 points. So that means you need 9 points over here, so you need to basically control probably this draw, have these nests cleared out and have your people controlling those, and then maybe controlling or killing these 2 spots and then having control those. Speaking of killing, I do want to talk about combat, because I think combat is a very interesting thing in this game. It's kind of one of the drawbacks of doing the review first, is that I didn't get to talk about this kind of stuff. But looking at our combat, I do want to walk through a combat. So let me go and set up a hypothetical scenario. Let's suppose that we had this situation going on. And one thing to note is that I'm adding a lot of stuff here at the same time. So my apologies ahead of time, but just trying to create a reasonably interesting scenario. So first and foremost, one thing to note is that headquarters and generals, or HQs and generals, are called leaders, and leaders will give all the units around them and on their spot a free action. So instead of spending one of my 2 action points here, when the headquarters comes out on round 8 is when they'll finally land, hopefully, then I will be able to get free actions. And that lets me really speed up my strategy, really try to get around and punch the enemy in the face and take them down. And try to coordinate attacks and stuff. So let's suppose that this is the start of the round, start of the action phase, and I got all these delicious actions here. These two guys are disrupted, and I'm ready to go, kick some butt and take some names. Now, one thing you'll notice is that this unit here is at full health. He has 3 pips, and this unit here has taken a hit, and he has some letters next to him. Now, what this means is that when they have full health, they have a certain loadout of weapons that they'll have. And if a infantry unit is at full health, it will... 1 second. If an infantry unit is at full health, they will have all the weapons available. Let me get that up here. One thing I will say is that the player aids, they seem to be set up in a way to where you always find what you're looking for at the last sheet that you look at. It's crazy how they do it. I don't know how they do it. So if you look here, an infantry unit that's at full health, a full strength infantry unit, has these 6 weapons. And what this represents essentially all these units, all the units that are inside of this particular infantry regiment, brigade. I don't know what the size of units are, but that they have these weapons. They're holding to these weapons. So if you want to think of it as like a squad of 6 people that are inside this infantry unit, one person has a bazooka, one person has demolitions, one person has a mortar, one person has a radio, one person has a Browning automatic rifle, one person has a Bangalore torpedo. So that's what that means. Now, the reason why it's important is because this unit here has all 6 weapons ready to kind of take on any task. This unit has taken a hit. They lost some people. They lost half of their squad essentially. They lost one of their strength, one of the 3 strength. They now only have a bazooka. They have a BG, a Bangalore torpedo, and they have a radio. That's all they have. Now, when you do attacks are pretty cool. So again, considering everything in this scenario, I moved some stuff up. There's some extra units here. This is a anti-air gun, which is really powerful for taking out some stuff and gives you some more weapons. This is the headquarters. The headquarters will give everybody around them a free action, and they also get free actions themselves. Remember, you can only take one action a turn anyway, so it's not like I can just go wild and take 17 actions at the same time. But what I can do is I can take this unit and I can declare an attack. So I'm going to take this unit and declare an attack so I can show how attacking works. So this unit is going to attack this spot here. So you'll notice that this guy's disrupted. That's fine. That doesn't matter. But we're declaring an attack. So first thing we'll do is we will flip over this unit to reveal, and then we'll look at what weapons it has, what weapons it needs to be defeated. So in this case, this enemy has a strength of 2, and the weapons that it needs to be defeated are BG and BZ. So the question is, does the attacking unit have the correct weapons? In this case, the answer is yes. So we do have a BG and a BZ, thankfully. Even though we're half at, we're 1 strength lower than we would normally be, and we've lost half of the things that we could have had. We got very lucky here, and we drew one that actually had 2 of the 3 things that we happen to have. Now, after we declare an attack, and I'm going to use this super fancy chart that's going to show pictures instead of showing words, because pictures are great. After we declare an attack, like I said, the first thing we're going to ask is, do the weapons match? So in this case, the answer is yes, the weapons do match. Next, we're going to ask the question of, okay, so the weapons do match, but do we have at least double the strength of what the enemy has? So the enemy has a strength of 2, we have a strength of 4. The answer happens to be yes. This is shaping out to be a perfect example, actually. So we have 4, so we have at least double of what they have there. So the answer is yes. So we have this. Therefore, we get to use this bottom half of the box. And the question we ask now is the unit alone, or do they have a hidden depth, or do they have a revealed depth? If they're alone, then we just defeat them. So outright, this guy's defeated. So we've knocked him out. Huzzah! We've taken out one of the Nazis. Yeah. Take that AA gun. Alright, so that's successfully defeated. Now this guy's been activated, so we're going to put that marker to show he's been defeated. Now next, I'm going to do another attack, but this time I'm going to do a combined attack. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare an attack. I'm going to declare an attack with this guy and this guy. Now first, let me do a scenario without a headquarters. So I'm going to say the headquarters, let's say it started over there. This guy, let's say I had 3 actions this round for some reason, and this tank was actually here, and this tank was out of the way. Let's say I had 3 actions, I use action 1 to take out that, and I have 2 more actions left. Because there is a way to get 3 actions in this game, and that's an event card can show up and give you a bonus action. So let's say that happened here. What I can do is I can do a combined attack. Now a combined attack allows me to declare an attack with multiple units, but I need to spend a single action for each one. So in this case, if I had my 3 actions like I was saying hypothetically, let me get my thumbs here. And let's say that this guy, he was an action that I used earlier. I got 2 more actions left. I can say, okay, I'm gonna use my other 2 actions, and I'll move these out of the way in a second. But I'm gonna use my other 2 actions to activate those 2, and they're gonna attack together the same target. So in this case, these 2 are attacking the same target. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to combine the strength and combine the weapons that they have. So in this case, a tank comes equipped with a few weapons that are very important. A tank comes equipped with a artillery. It also comes equipped with a bazooka. And it also comes equipped with a BR, which is a Browning automatic rifle. And it also comes equipped with a MG, which is a machine gun. Those are important. You'll notice that here for the infantry that's at full health, they have everything except for the machine gun that the tank has, or everything except for the artillery and the machine gun. So it's important to note that, because sometimes you need the bigger guns to try to take out the more entrenched enemies here. So in this case, we're going to continue our attack. So we're declaring an attack with these 2 units. We're combining their strength. Their strength currently is 8, because this guy has 6, this tank has 2. The tank has a range of 5, but that's fine. It's not what we're looking at. So now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. First thing we're going to do is we're declaring attack. We're going to go ahead and reveal the unit that we're attacking. And for this guy to be taken down, we need to have a Browning rifle, and we need to have a mortar. So the infantry unit by themselves, they already have it. So that's all good. We have the correct weapons. So because we have the correct weapons, we get to check the side. The enemy is at a strength 1 right now, and we have a strength of 8 because we attacked with both of these guys. So therefore, we do have at least double. And then we check, do they have a hidden death marker? The answer is yes. So now we get to reveal the depth marker, and then we have to reevaluate. So we reveal this depth marker, and they need DE. So DE, I think, has demolitions. So DE is demolitions, and thankfully our infantry unit has demolitions as well. So now we check our chart again. So do we have the right weapons? The answer is yes. We have all the right weapons. Then we check, do we have at least double the strength? The answer is yes. We're at an 8, they're at a 2. So therefore we get to, they are revealed depth, and we have at least double. So we get to disrupt, we get to disrupt them, and we get to remove the depth. So therefore we get to throw the depth away. So they're no longer as entrenched as they were before, and they are disrupted. So that's how that works. So a few things that are important to note with that too is that you can also do a coordinated attack with a headquarters, and a headquarters is often required to do a coordinated attack with some of these more advanced weapons like artillery, which the artillery units, they look like this. This is an artillery unit, has a little dot in the middle. This one, where'd it go? I just saw it. Maybe I didn't see it. There's also armored artillery. Okay, here we go. There's also armored artillery, which is this guy here. It has the same armored symbol. The important thing to note between these two is that this is an artillery unit. If you have a round to where you want to attack with this, but the gunner in the location, let's say the purple gunner shot, even if they didn't actually shoot this guy, they still shot at this guy. This guy is not armored, therefore they would not be able to shoot. They would not be eligible or allowed to shoot. Now this guy is armored, and even if this guy got shot at, as long as they didn't take damage, well, even if they took damage, it wouldn't matter. But they would not be, or they would be eligible to shoot because they have armored. They have the armored symbol, that little round circle in there. So that's what that means. But sorry, going back to headquarters. Headquarters, you have to coordinate an attack. Essentially, you have to have the headquarters in command of or adjacent to a unit, an infantry unit that has not acted yet, but that is eligible to attack something. So this headquarters is in command of this infantry unit. Hypothetically, let's say they didn't act yet. And that unit is about to attack. And this headquarters is also in command with an artillery unit. Therefore, we can do a combined attack with both of these two to try to take out that. There's also some other combinations you have to have. You have to check the rulebook to kind of get the full gist of it. But what I'm trying to explain is that there are some combinations of things that you need to check. And I think the attacking mechanism is really frustrating at times when you don't have the right weapons, but it also feels really rewarding when you do get the right stuff at the right time. Again, this single soldier taking out that entire nest by himself felt really good. But also, I've had situations to where I should have had the right things, and then they got shot right before, and then once they got shot, they lost the weapon they needed, and then they got bumped away instead, and it just didn't feel good. So that's how the attack mechanism works. It's very important. You'll be doing a lot of that from mid-phase, from mid-tide to high-tide. Early game, early round, you'll be doing a lot of barrages. And then late game, I don't know what happens late game. I haven't made that far. But yeah, that's been my experience so far. So I wanted to explain all that because I think that that mechanism is pretty neat. I don't know if I want to see that in more games, but I do appreciate that it's here in this game because it kind of represents like, hey, we got the right weapons to take out the guy. I do agree with some of the forum complaints, some of the complaints in BGG where people are saying it doesn't make sense. I got everybody that I could ever want or ever need, and they're surrounded by like 7 people. But just because I don't have the one weapon that I don't have because everybody's dead who has that weapon, that guy just doesn't die. That's so weird. I want to house rule it, and people have house ruled it, so you can do that if you want to. All right. Okay, cool. So I've gone on long enough. I've blabbered on long enough talking about this game a lot. I did enjoy my experience with this game. I do want to kind of give a generic summary for those who might have missed the review and just don't want to rewind to the beginning part. But essentially, 7.5 out of 10 is what I give my rating for this game. This is definitely one of those games I'll play maybe once a year. So I'll put it on the shelf alongside Mr. President and Mage Knight because Stellar Horizons 2 as well. Just to be a game that I might just play once a year because it was an interesting experience. I'm really looking forward to trying to see what this looks like 2-player. As far as things that I like and things I didn't like, I really like how the system is very dynamic and kind of living and breathing, just living and dying by these cards. And these cards do a really good job of mixing things up and kind of keeping it like, oh, something new's happening, something different's happening, kind of generating a new scenario. And as far as things that I also liked, I like the whole grand strategy aspect of it. I love having like the here's your full beach. You're kind of getting these guys to charge in and trying to do like a big plan and coordinate things to get like a bigger attack next time, and hope, fingers crossed that the enemy doesn't hit the right guys, because if they hit the right guys, then your attack falls flat. So that feels really cool. I do like that. On the side of things that I don't like, I kind of don't like the length of the game. If you want to play a full game of this where you're solo playing both sides, with me talking, I did a full recording of it, and it took me about 7 to 8 hours. And that itself was a long experience. If I wasn't doing commentary on every single thing I was doing and kind of out loud contemplating what was happening, and then moving the camera around and stuff, I could probably knock it out in maybe 5 to 6 hours. But even then, that still feels like a lot of commitment. So this is like a one-day game, as in you play this on a Saturday or you play this on a Sunday type situation. Play on the weekend. Another thing I don't like about this game is I don't like the grand strategy. I know I said the grand strategy was a great thing in my likes just now, in my summarized likes there, but I also don't like it because I'm not good at grand strategy. Maybe if I play more games like this, I'll get better at it. I don't know. But it just also feels not great sometimes when you have like a little plan that's coming along and everything's going great, and then just like that one card shows up to just blows up your plan, literally, and everything falls apart. So that doesn't feel great, and I don't particularly like that. Although I do like the grand strategy, I don't like the grand strategy. So take that how you will. All right, so that's pretty much it. There's nothing else to talk about here on the game. I've kind of talked through the rules. I didn't talk through every single rule because I don't know every single rule. I really don't know how the second half of the game works because I haven't played it yet. But from what I've experienced and what I've seen, I would recommend this game for sure. 7.5 out of 10 probably doesn't mean much to a lot of people, but for me, anything that's like in a 7 or higher is probably doing pretty good. And I do like the experience for this one. And it also feels, there's a lot of decision space too. Like, it just feels weird about how much decision space exists for a game that gives you 2 actions a turn. Like, 2 actions a turn sounds absurd, but when you actually play it and you get the things that the game gives you at the time the game gives you them, you feel like you have enough to kind of solve the problems that you're facing. And that's kind of interesting how it does that. So kudos to who's it, Decision Games. Yeah, kudos to you guys. This is I don't want to say a masterpiece of a game because I haven't tried any other games, but people have said good things about it, so I'm assuming this is a masterpiece of a game. I'm just happy to have stumbled upon it in my friendly local game store randomly and had the opportunity to purchase it. So shout out to you, Atomic Empire. You're great. All right, so that's going to be it for this video, though. Thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all whenever.